My name is Carlton Cartwright. I am the Executive Director for Veterans Memorial and Multicultural Histories Incorporated. Today is July the 19th. It's Wednesday, 2023, and we are at Amy Mercado's office in Orlando. And sir, what is your name?
My name is Victor Manuel Torres Jr.
Okay. And where were you born?
I was born in the city of New York in 1947.
All right. So how old are you now?
75, I'll be 76 next week.
Okay.
In fact, this week.
The
okay. 22nd.
Okay, 22nd of July.
July.
Right? Okay. So you were born in New York. What branches of service did you go in?
I went to the Marine Corps.
And what year was that?
1967.
Okay, and why did you choose that branch of the service?
My kid brother, George, he had enlisted into the Marine Corps at the age of 17. My father and my mother had assigned. And I had just turned 18, and it was during the Vietnam era.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gotten a draft notice in New York, and I received my letter with the token in it to report for the physical. And that's when I decided that I was going to join the Marine Corps.
Got it. Where was basic training?
Paris Island.
Paris Island. Where is that? What state?
That's in South Carolina.
Okay. All right. How long was basic training?
Oh Lord, you would ask that. I guess it was 12 weeks. At that time, it was 12 weeks, I believe, basic training.
That's good. Okay, and what was your MOS, AIT?
0844, field and artillery.
Okay. How long was basic? You said basic training was 12 weeks?
12 weeks.
How long was AIT?
Well, I went into training in Camp Pendleton to continue my MOS in training and field artillery. And that was in Camp Pendleton. That was a few weeks as well before we got orders to go to Vietnam. Okay,
so you're a Vietnam vet.
I'm a Vietnam veteran of the era. I went to, when I landed in Okinawa, my kid brother was still in Fulbright, George. And I informed the gunnery sergeant, I says, get my brother out of Nam and I'll go to Vietnam. You know, I had a whole year. My brother had 5 months left. My brother wrote to me and said, you stay there until I leave, and then if they're gonna send you, you only have 8 months to do. So the Marine Corps kept me in Okinawa, which I was in Camp Hague, and then Camp Hansen, and I was I got a top secret clearance for the unit that I was working in.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw my brother leave near Vietnam and come through Camp Hansen. Camp Hansen was the transition, all the veterans coming to Nam and the guys leaving Nam. So even R&R was in Camp Hansen, Okinawa, for the Marines. So
you spent a year in Vietnam?
I spent a year in Okinawa.
A year in Okinawa?
In Okinawa. I spent a year in Okinawa.
What were you doing there?
We were doing a top secret clearance unit. That's what I had the clearance for, and they never told us what we were guarding. But this was a unit that had high secret, operations, and we even did convoys with whatever was in there. So we never knew.
Up to this point, through basic training, through your AIT. Through this, that was your first duty base, was Okinawa?
Okinawa.
Okay. Were there any casualties?
No, there was none.
Did I get hurt?
No. Like I said, Camp Hansen, before I went into that unit, I was assigned to the MPs in Camp Hansen for a while. Mm-hmm. And I got to see many of the veterans who were coming back from RR, or they were injured, medical treatment. And I got to see many of them as they went through, as they transitioned, and they went back stateside. Or some of them, I remember one guy who was by MOS. He had 22 shrapnel wounds, but he was on R&R. I said to him, why aren't you going home? He says, they're sending me back. They said I'm okay. I said, well, you got 22 shrapnel wounds. And they said, you're okay? I said, I can't understand. Well, what mentality is telling you that you're okay? I don't think you're okay. But he told me, yeah, that's the way it is. And he was a brother. He was a brother. Let's make it clear. You know, I'm not making this stuff up. You know, this is where I realize you're just a number.
Gotcha.
You're a number.
Okay. Okay, so how many years total did you serve in the military?
3 years.
Okay, and you were enlisted, were you an officer?
No, I was a sergeant, E5.
That was when you separated?
When I separated,
E5.
my rank was E5.
Got it. And you said you did 5 years?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Okay, so did you go to Vietnam?
No, I never went.
Okay. All right, fine. No, that's fine. So after Okinawa, you were there for a year?
After a year in Okinawa,
And then where'd you go after that?
I went back to stateside where I was signed to Camp Lejeune. And there I was sent out on a Caribbean cruise. The Marine Corps has deployment of a battalion in the Caribbean and one in the Mediterranean. And they asked me which one you want to choose, and I said, I just got back from overseas, I want to be home. And they said, you're going on a cruise. We either one, make a choice. So I went on the Caribbean because I'm Puerto Rican. So while on the cruise, I found out that we can get basket leave. So many of us didn't know what basket leave means.
Okay.
And they informed me, says, if you're going to an island that's family, you have family, you can get a week basket leave on the arm and you can go visit your family. So then I said, really? He said, yeah. So I went to the commanding officer and says, hey, I want to get basket leave. And he says, basket leave for what? I said, we're going to Puerto Rico, right? He said, yeah. I said, well, I got family in Puerto Rico, in Ponce. So they fill out the paperwork. It was funny because I remember signing the paper and the lieutenant said to me, are you sure you're coming back? And I said, where am I going to go? I says, just let me know where I have to be, report, and I'll be there. And I spent a week with my family, my grandmother, my uncles, everybody, you know, while I was detached.
Were you at Camp Lejeune for the duration?
I finished after the cruise, I came back to Camp Lejeune and I finished my service in Camp Lejeune. That was it.
What were you doing before you went in the military?
You mean as a civilian?
School? Yeah.
Yeah, I was aspiring to be a police officer. I had taken tests and I was waiting. I worked in a place called Lincoln Center at the Metropolitan Opera House. And I was waiting to go into the police department. They accepted me. They sent me a letter for the cadet program. At the same time that the letter came, my draft letter came as well.
Right, in New York?
In New York City.
In Brooklyn or?
Manhattan.
Manhattan. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, so you separated where?
In North Carolina,
You-
Camp
okay, right.
Lejeune.
What did you do after the service?
Well, I went back to my old job. You know, ironically, we who were getting out of during that year in the 70s, there was no jobs, no opportunity for the VA. And they told you, well, kid, I said, I want to be a cop. Can you help me? No. Ironically, when I was stationed in Camp Lejeune, you had the Baltimore Police Department. You had the Washington, D.C. Police Department. And I think there was a third one, the Maryland. They all came to the Marine Corps and they said to us, if you sign up for our police department, you'll have 90 days to get out early from the Marine Corps. No tests, no nothing.
Okay.
To join those police departments. And I said, how come New York is not here, you know, looking for police officers? But you have to take an exam. You have to prepare for an exam. You get on a list, and on that list is how you score and how you get sworn in or point, to go through the academy.
Uh-huh.
So, came back, the VA had nothing to offer. I had a family, so I went back to my old job, and then from there, I went to Delahanty School to prepare myself for civil service exams. So I took that year, I took 3 exams. I took the NYPD, Transit Police, and New York City Port Authority Police. I passed them all. I passed the Port Authority Police as well. I had taken them all,
Really?
and just waiting for them to call me.
Yeah.
And I only knew about it by accident because I ran into another gentleman who was on the list with me, and he recognized me. He says, they're calling us up to get on the police department. They're calling for the academy. So I called up my investigating officer, and he told me, "Hey, I sent you a letter." I says, "You sent me a letter? You never sent me a letter." He said, "Yeah, I sent it to you. Did you move?" I says, "Don't give me that excuse, man." I says, "I know if I moved, I would have had a forwarding address, and you never sent me a letter."
Uh-huh.
So, but I got called in, I got sworn in, and I did my 20 years and 29 days. Retired as a detective with the Transit Police.
Okay. 20 years.
In 29 days.
Got you. What about your education? What is your educational background?
I had when I was in the police department in the academy, we were the first class to take John Jay courses, psychology and sociology.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to be the test to see how the new recruits are going to, with college credits and professors, and to see if you could learn how do you deal with public, how you interact with people out there, especially some of us who came from the military. So it was interesting, and we finished our courses. I also took a program, it was called CAP, and it was for us police officers to continue our studies. I did it. I should have continued to finish. I had 126 credits, but I, work, family, and it was just a lot of work, and I didn't get to finish that. But that was the story of my educational background. I always say I have a history of the story of hard knocks, life experience, and that's what I bring to the table where I'm at.
And we're going to get to that. See. Okay, so on the various tours that you served, because you've been overseas, Okinawa, and also Camp Lejeune, the people, people on the economy, the food, throughout that 3-year period, 3 years, right? Did you have any? Okay, and third thing can be supplies. Do you feel like you had enough supplies to do your job while you were in the military? Well, how was the food while you were in the military, and when you were stationed at various places, how did you get along with the people on the economy where you were?
Okay, one of the things I'll say is that the Marine Corps, what you had here in the States for dinner was the same meal they were serving overseas.
Okay.
So if you had ham here in Camp Lejeune, you had ham in Camp Hansen or whatever other base.
Okay.
They were at that time, that was the standard. They served the same meal all over the place. The reason why I'm stating this because I remember once we went to Kadena Air Force Base.
Right. Where's that at? That's in the Philippines?
That's in Okinawa.
Okinawa. Okay.
We were up there on a convoy. So we went to Kadena Air Force Base. So when I got into the cafeteria, because they told us, hey Marines, you go there and eat. When you went into that cafeteria, you thought you were back home in a restaurant.
Gotcha.
They had soup to nuts.
Right.
They treat their pilots, they're enlisted, the same.
Yeah.
And I went like, in the Marine Corps, when you went into to eat, one side was enlisted, and the other side was officers.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's throughout the military, I believe.
Yeah.
It's like that in the Air Force.
Well, I didn't know.
Yeah.
But when I went to the Kadena Air Force Base,
Everybody's set.
everybody's,
Yeah.
you're getting steaks,
Well,
you're getting pork chops.
It's one way in the well, in the States it's one way, and when you're overseas, it's another.
Yeah.
It
Well,
can be.
I don't, so I'm going like, wow.
What I'd like to know is what inspired you to run for office, and what year was that?
Well,
What kicked that
I
off?
kicked that off.
Uh-huh.
Let's put it this way. I already had experience with Hispanic Society for the New York City Transit Police,
Uh-huh.
engaging in helping our politicians get elected. And it's through the society that I learned how to help people get elected.
Mm-hmm.
What it took to get a person get elected. So we would hand out flyers, we would knock on doors, 33 stories. You start from the top floor
Uh-huh.
and work your way down. And you knock on doors. Hey,
Uh-huh.
and I want you to meet your next councilman or your next senator or whatever.
Right.
And it was interesting, and we got people elected. And coming to Florida, I saw the difference in the attitudes because I'm a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
And when I lived in Marion County, it was really hard to get people to come out and vote and protect their rights. We moved to Orlando, and 2012 they had redistricted all the representatives and senators. And my family, my wife and my daughter, Amy, my wife Carmen said, listen, you should run for office. I said, I'm not a politician, I'm a public servant, I'm a labor guy,
Mm-hmm.
union guy. And they said, no, you gotta run, you got experience with the public and you know what you're talking about. Remember, I did military, I did police work,
Uh-huh.
I drove a school bus in Marion County for
Wow.
10 years.
Okay.
And then
Marion County here?
yeah.
Okay.
And then I drove the city bus here in Lynx,
Uh-huh.
in Orange and Osceola and Seminole. So I already had a feeling of the public by talking to those who I transported, to those children that I saw, to those teachers that I met during my time in my different jobs. So I know as a cop, as a detective, how many homes I went into and saw how impoverished they were, how they were struggling just to make it happen with their families. And I felt that, it's no different from New York to down here, because the same thing goes on here.
Right.
So in 2012, I decided to run for the House of Representatives, and I won by acclamation because those who said they were going to run against me never filed the paperwork, and I won. And then the second term, same thing, I won by acclamation. And then I won in 2016, I ran for the Senate, which I currently hold, and I've been there now going on my 8th year.
What are your greatest challenges in that position as a senator in Florida?
Well, the biggest challenges in my 12 years, I'll tell you, 12 years, because it hasn't been easy. Not 1 year or 2 years, 12 years.
Not one day.
Yeah, it's always been a struggle as a Democrat because we never had the majority or even a balanced legislature. It's always been a one-sided issue.
Right.
We were the minorities. And when you're in the minorities, people don't realize, when somebody tells me, I want to run for office, you don't know what you're getting into. You have no idea how this beast operates. And you take it for granted. You take it for granted by saying, I can do this. You can't do jack. It's the truth.
I know.
It's the truth. People, I hear them out here. Oh, you can't do jack. Don't give me that you're gonna do You know, I mean, you want to do, I mean, you come with aspirations, you want to do right for your people, but a lot of them, they get elected and then they forget where they came from. Carlton, that's the problem. They forget where the hell they came from. They think that there's a gold mine out there and it's not going to happen. And you got to raise money to run for office, you know. So unfortunately, you know, I see the hard knocks, and you know, to me, it's like you have to file Form 6. You have to divulge all your assets, all your background, all your jobs,
Right.
everything,
Right.
so people can see it out there.
Okay. Now, if we can just talk for a moment. If you be so kind as to share, what are your within rationale, realistic? What are your realistic goals, and what solutions do you feel should be put on the table to be discussed, and in areas, populations, ethnic groups? Because I'm pretty sure that at the very least, I'm including all politicians, if you'd be so kind, that, you know, at least coming in, you know, you coming in, you're running, you know that there's problems, you see the problems, so solutions, even if you can't get it done.
Right.
What is your vision?
My it's a long question that you asked, but I wish it was
trying to get it done.
I wish it was a simple answer.
And that's okay.
You know, but the bottom line is that Colin, you can't give up. If you run for office, and you know, after 12 years, and you go to yourself.
You know, you have me laughing instead of crying. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because people think, you know, I can get this done. No. You have to learn how to negotiate.
Maneuver.
You got to negotiate and maneuver. You have to learn who the key players on the other side and how you convince them. And you know what? In my 12 years, you know, the amount of bills that I pass or amendments that I push, or, you know, it hasn't been big, but I'm saying they have been impactful, you know. But when you look at how do you keep your mind thinking, this is the object, this is what I'm focused on, this is what I want to do, and you keep on battling for the same principle that brought you to the table the first time.
Okay.
Because what brought you to the first time to the table has to be the things that you keep on fighting for year after year. And you're going to add to that. You know, it's things that never stop. And you see affordable housing, education, you see jobs, you see the health benefits for families. You know, these are all the issues that keep on piling up. Children with disabilities, those waiting lists, those families, those agencies the state has that are underfunded, understaffed, overworked, and they outsource billions of dollars to provide for the community. But what happens? People are pocketing money. When you outsource for a company that's for profit, what does profit mean? You're going to make money.
Yeah.
You're not they're going to lose.
Right.
And who's going to lose? Our constituents. Because they can't get the service. They get paid on waiting lists. They're told, oh, you got to wait, or you don't qualify. Pandemic hit. How did that change the state? COVID hit. Unemployment hit. Everything was shutting down. How did we help our community? What were the calls coming in for constituents all over the state asking for help? Why? Because some of these guys who were elected officials didn't react to their constituents. They were calling us from Republican counties because they needed help. And my staff was calling, making sure whatever this person needed to be taken care of. So it just is a process here that people don't realize what it entails. It's not you as the elected official, it's your staff that makes you look good.
Right.
And people forget about that.
And you appreciate that.
And I definitely.
I know you do.
You know, and this is what it entails. The Marine Corps taught me respect, integrity, honesty, and stand up for what you believe in. Don't sell yourself. Don't sell yourself out for a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
This is why you came into office and you said you were going to do things for the public. But if you sell yourself, right now we have a crisis on homeowners insurance. Everybody's feeling it. Republicans, Democrats, Independent, everybody's feeling it. Renters, they can't afford their rent. Their rents are going through the roof, right?
Right.
Inflation, the prices of food, the prices of car insurance, the prices of gasoline, everything is going up. What is the governor doing for this? He's running around running for national office.
Okay. A few more questions so we can wrap this up. How do you feel about veterans versus the VA?
Good with it. Yeah, that's another one. I said it in
We need 3 days.
I said it in a committee up there. The 3 Ds. The 3 Ds was deny. What was it? Deny, die. There was the third one. It was the 3 Ds. I told somebody. You know,
Okay.
Like the VA will deny you, and they'll say, well, you got to fill out this paperwork, or, you know, when you produce paperwork that you filed in 2003, and they said to you, well, you didn't follow up, and I'm like, nobody told me to follow up. They said they denied your claim, and I went, this is an Ocala, yeah, and I had the proof, and I had the paperwork, and they go like, well, I said, no, I want you to read it, because I want you to see how I was treated. And I sit on the Military Veterans Affairs Committee. To me, it's an honor.
Is that for the state of Florida?
State of Florida.
Okay, from Tallahassee.
Tallahassee. When you look, I'm a veteran. And when I talk, I want my veterans to know I represent you in Tallahassee. I want the VA to come here to tell us what's going on. Tell us how they're going to provide more for our veterans. What about our widows for veterans?
Hello.
What are they getting? Torres is a veteran, you know, give him a call.
Right.
You know, the reason why is because you demand action. When you were in the service, you had to react, you had to comply, and you had to do things.
Right.
You come out here and you go like, where's the help?
Right. And the stigma with that, and then we're done. The stigma with that is the fact that people do not realize that when you go into the military, as we have, as you and I have, that you're signing a contract to give your life for the country if that is required.
Sure.
Once you're ordered, that is it. There is, except for, I have no affiliation, but I'm pretty sure that the Secret Service probably signs off on something like that also. Okay, and beyond that,
As a cop.
hello.
To protect and serve.
Right, right. And the regular community person, they have no concept.
No.
They have no concept. And just to add in, the horror of engagements like Vietnam that veterans have suffered I'm out of words.
Sure.
It's indescribable that it was like they treat the grunt like it was his idea to go to Vietnam and kill someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, people need to understand this about us, that, and I've seen people, I went through it in Germany, guys would suddenly realize that they had signed that contract and did things to themselves to get kicked out of the service. They wanted a dishonorable discharge.
Yeah.
On purpose, up front, in person.
Yeah.
But then, then there have always been those of us, and I come from a military family. Both of my parents served in World War II.
Right.
All right, my father, both of his brothers, my mother and her sister, me, my son, okay, and my nephew, my sister's son.
Right.
Who's going to sign off on a contract like that? But then there, go back, I digress, but then we did. And we realized that maybe we did not really realize it as we were signing a contract. It didn't hit me until I got to my first duty base.
Sure.
But I didn't run. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is it like you and I, we stayed, okay, and then to be treated, okay, so I was never in combat, okay, but I signed that document. I have every right in the world to get my benefits, and I can't complain. Once I was mistreated at the VA, but I found out where to go I'm good at that. I knew where to go, I knew how to speak, and turned in a complaint, and got it done. I had to protect my father also.
Sure.
They were trying to assign him to somebody that was getting out, a primary care doctor. They didn't care about him. My primary care, she hated me for about 5 minutes because I begged her to take him. And I went, literally around the hospital and got to her office. And she was really aggravated, but she could see how much I loved my father.
Yeah.
And she took him until he died. So
that's one thing that
Thank
I
you.
did in the VA as well. When I didn't like my primary doctor, I went and I filed with the caseworker. You know, you talk to them.
Yeah.
And then the caseworker said, well, I said, no, I don't want him anymore. You're going to give me somebody else.
Yeah.
And you have to apply what I say. I know how I feel, and I know what this guy, and me and the doctor, we went at it toe to toe, but I told him, I says, I'll tell you the truth, I asked to be changed from you, and I'm not holding no bars back. I'm telling you, I'll go to the top. When I got to the Marion County, and I went to the VA in Gainesville, I met the guy who was the administrator. This is in 2003 or 2002, and he said to me, no, I moved in 1994. The guy says to me, what branch of the service you said? I said, the Marine Corps. He said, where did you join? I said, New York City. Oh, you should have stayed in New York. I said, what? He said, you should have stayed in New York. He said, they got better facility and better treatment up there. I said, let me tell you, when I joined the Marines, it didn't say New York State Marine Corps. It said United States Marine Corps.
Hello.
And this is part of the country, right?
Right.
In Florida. He says, oh, no, don't get me wrong. And I says, who are you? He was some colonel or something. And he said, no, I'm the administrator. I said, you're the administrator? Give me your DD-214. I make sure. And they gave me the case, and they got me, to start seeing a primary doctor up there. But my idea is, here's a guy with the crew cut hair, white guy, looking at me, Puerto Rican, and saying, you should have stayed in New York.